here today to give you a bit more information on Titanic Belfast. As Mary introduced, my name's Anne Murphy and I'm part of the sales and marketing team at Titanic Belfast. Catch up. Titanic Belfast could be likened to the modern day version of the great RMS Titanic in terms of her scale and magnitude, engineering and innovation, and also fixing the world's eyes on Belfast and the pride of the people there at this world-class attraction opening on the 31st of March this year. The iconic building, which houses the largest Titanic visitor experience, harnesses the presence and spirit of Titanic and contributes to a sensory visitor experience. To give you some of the facts and figures, when you're standing on the plaza looking up at the hulls of the building, which are the same height as Titanic was from keel to bridge, Titanic can hold over 3,547 visitors at any one time, which is the number, or the capacity, sorry, of Titanic herself. It's the largest dedicated banqueting space in Northern Ireland, and it's the largest investment project in Northern Ireland and the biggest ever single investment in a tourism project in Ireland. As the name suggests, she's located in Belfast, the fast-growing Titanic Quarter, which is also home to the brand new Belfast Metropolitan College, the Public Records Office Northern Ireland, the Odyssey Arena, and the Titanic Film Studios, which have hosted many modern television productions and films such as The Ring and Game of Thrones, which is currently being recorded there on an ongoing basis. And there are several other Titanic sites within a few hundred metres as well. There's Thompson Dock, where she went for her fit out, and there's the SS Nomadic, which has come home and is just metres away from Titanic Belfast. Inspiration for the physical structure of the building actually came from the image in the bottom right here, which wasn't the building of Titanic, but 3 ships that were simultaneously under construction by Harland and Wolff on the site. This is Titanic Belfast in January 2011. She was a good way along the structure of the external, but as you can see, by May 2011, starts to take shape and looks a bit more like it looks today and how it's going to look on the 31st of March when we launch. Inside, there's a variety of food and beverage outlets. There's a retail outlet, 9 interactive galleries, conference and banqueting facilities, and temporary exhibition gallery. Here in the atrium is also where the ticketing is, the group check-in, and the tourist information centre as well. So when we look at the galleries, I'm going to give you a bit of a virtual tour of what you can expect to see in there. So moving into Gallery 1, we look at Boomtown Belfast, circa 1910. This is an extremely content-rich and interactive gallery. There's about 15 interactive points with different functionalities. And actually the technology in Titanic Belfast is second to none anywhere else in Europe in any other visitor attraction. So you can explore in Boomtown Belfast the landscape back then. So you would have been looking at the Victoria Channel outside Titanic Belfast itself, and right along to St Anne's Cathedral, the Ulster Hall, and the Royal Victoria Hospital over in the west. There's a directory of industry, for example, showing the key influencers of the time and how incestuous business was and how successful business was in those days as well, with import and export overview of what was happening in the city. There's Marconi devices around the gallery that invite you to become a signaller for the day, so there's something for every age group. Entering the shipyard through the gates. These are the original gates of Harland and Wolff, and you start to explore the story of how Titanic was built. The drawing office in Gallery 1 is an immersive drawing board of the ship's plans. And what happens is this plan of the ship rolls out from the wall right across the floor. And then it's a bit like an iPad, only I don't think you could stand on the iPad. You go and you look at some hot spots on here, and when you stand on them, it brings up more information and closer drawings of that particular part of the ship. As you exit Gallery 1, there are 2 lifts to the second gallery and the dark ride. And the lifts are the old style cages as they would have been back in the day. This gives you an idea of there. So the shipyard ride, this is a cable car ride that takes visitors through the building of the vessel itself. This theatrical experience looks at 6 areas of the process and goes from the keel and the engine rooms. The smell of the welding, the heat and the darkness give a sense of what it would have been like to work on the building of the Titanic at the time. Obviously we'll need to, not quite so hot, not quite so smelly for the modern day equivalent. So when visitors are coming off the ride in Gallery 2, there's a sense of excitement about the launch that's about to happen. So we move into Gallery 3 and deal with the launch. In front of them, on a large floor-to-ceiling window that's a corner, they can see the slipway of where Titanic would have been launched from back in 1911 before she went round to Thompson's Dock for the fit-out. So they see that as it would have looked then, and then using film and electric static casing, the glass clears and you're actually looking over the slipway as it is today and the views over Belfast as it is today. It's a pretty amazing sight, and even without the technology in place months ago when we were showing people around and telling them this is what had happened, everyone visualising it, it was pretty amazing seeing their faces because they were looking at it and thinking this is what it's going to look like. The fit out in Gallery 4, this explores both innovative engineering and sumptuous luxury and craftsmanship. Contents include models and reconstructions. Using elaborate CGI and 3D imagery, you can fly through the interactive cave, which gives you a virtual tour of the ship, everything from the staircases to the different range of interiors from first through to third class. There's also a 1:48 scale model of Titanic. It's split into 2 halves, one side dealing with how she was launched and the other side dealing as how she would have sailed. There's cross sections along it as well, so you can see the interior and exterior at different places. There's a lot of detail going into it. In Gallery 5, we look at the maiden voyage. Visitors stroll across the deck and experience life on board Titanic. Here we have 14 original images from Father Frank Brown's photography collection, the only visual documentation of life on board since he disembarked at Cove and didn't go across the Atlantic. They're displayed in such a way that visitors get a sense of the jovial and excited ambience on board. Immediately from that jovial, warm, bright, upbeat atmosphere, we're transported to that fateful night and a dramatic sensory experience. The gallery is dark. Global projections under the floor create a shimmering look that looks like you're standing on the water. The temperature drops, and it's 11:40 p.m. on Sunday the 14th of April 1912 when Titanic hits that iceberg. On the floor there's a timeline of that fateful night and the events that happened. From the SOS calls, where there's red and green messages showing the communication that went out from Titanic and some of the communication responses that came back. This gallery also deals with the sinking sequence and the survivors and collection of the bodies. The aftermath. Titanic Belfast is the only Titanic attraction that brings both the British and American inquiries together. The British inquiry concentrating on the practical what went wrong scenario, and the American dealing with the more human aspects, the passenger and crew stories. Here visitors can experience the actual inquiries verbatim, all of the information. Gallery 8 deals with myths and legends. This is a hugely interactive gallery and it looks at popular culture and folklore surrounding Titanic, and it looks at film, stage, text and verse to explore this in more detail. Titanic Below is pretty exciting in a number of ways. Enter in the gallery, visitors can see the wreck side on as she appears today at the bottom of the Atlantic, through footage from Dr. Robert Ballard's discovery and subsequent dives. As they progress, they can also view her as she appears from above by looking, at some point you're standing on the floor, a glass floor, and you're looking down at how she looks on the bottom of the Atlantic now as well. So you get a number of views of that. There's also some little interactive pods, a bit like the space capsules or the sea diving capsules that you take the exploration. So you can actually take them to a number of points along the seabed and look at the different fractions of things like crockery or things that have come out of Titanic at different stages that still are embedded in the bottom of the sea. There's a submersive theatre, an ocean exploration centre, a submersive theatre seating up to about 115 people. The exploration centre is where canned and live footage of subsequent dives can be screened, and we anticipate other dives and explorations in conjunction with the University of Ulster and the NIEA, and looking specifically around the west coast of Ireland and other vessels in the Atlantic. The banqueting facilities and the conference centre. This is the Titanic suite from the north side. The main banqueting hall is designed in the style of the first-class dining saloon on board Titanic Belfast. It holds up to 1,000 people for dinner and has a mezzanine area overlooking the hall and has a 360-degree view of Belfast. And there's also a replica staircase. Not exact in that back in the day you wouldn't have had to have a banister down the middle. Health and safety these days, slightly different. The other difference that would have been a main change from the original first-class dining saloon is that it would have had a tile floor. Again, health and safety, we're onto carpet now. So how do we market the world's largest Titanic visitor experience? Break it down into 5 sectors. And the segments we look at are domestic leisure, out-of-state leisure, domestic events, out-of-state business, and education. Our targets for year 1 are to have 425,000 people through the doors. And it breaks down into, I suppose, the most coming there from domestic leisure, then out-of-state leisure. We're looking at tour groups and education groups at about 30,000. Altogether, about 224 events in the conference and banqueting suite, or 42,500 people. Pre-opening sales are well underway. I think at the beginning of this week we were at 43,000 tickets already sold, 95 confirmed events, which is just under 30,000 delegates, and online ticketing now live and selling at the rate of 1 every 80 seconds. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to leave you with a quote from Dr. Robert Ballard about the unique destination where Titanic Belfast is being housed at the moment. Thank you very much.